Tonight on The Roast, the government raises awareness on dangerous chemicals, Ford Australia announces it will be closing its doors, and Venezuela runs out of toilet paper. Well, at least now there's a use for their state-controlled newspaper. Concerning news tonight regarding the ongoing war on terror.
The internet has a new list of readily available chemicals that can be used for terrorism.
Those goddamn extremist instruction manuals.
But the list isn't part of an extremist's instruction manual, but rather an Australian government publication.
Those goddamn Australian government publications. So it turns out this list was just part of the Chemicals of Security Concern campaign, an anti-terrorism initiative launched today by the Australian Federal Police. Now, the campaign hopes to curb terrorism by listing 96 substances used for improvised explosive devices and where they're found, which places quite a bit of trust in your everyday Australian because, let's face it, we still haven't really made it past the whole wet paint, don't touch test. But anticipating this sort of criticism, Federal Attorney General Mark Dreyfus said, "If you think that I'm being irresponsible in giving away bomb-making instructions to terrorists, I can assure you that unfortunately these instructions are already easily accessible via the internet. But since the internet's so big, the government helpfully created a single handy website that specifically tells us all those ingredients for bomb-making, along with a government URL that's far less likely to tip off ASIO. And this website even has its own podcast where host Glenn Paul points out,
investigations into terrorist attacks have shown that terrorists often bought chemicals from the same places as the rest of us.
Wait, they're shopping at our stores? Go shop at your own shops, terrorists." So for now, those terrorists need to buy their ingredients from everyday hardware stores, which places quite a bit of responsibility on the people who work there, people like our own Rachel Corbett. Rachel, you work weekends at one of these stores. This places quite a burden on people like you.
I know, Tom. Who knew the front line on the war on terror was at Bunnings? I'm looking at this list and I don't know what any of these chemicals are. What the hell is ammonium nitrate?
Well, that's fertiliser, which I'm guessing you guys sell.
Yeah, aisle 5 next to the garden hoses.
Sorry, do you guys sell Drano?
Yeah, aisle 5 next to the garden hoses. Tom, this list is really confusing because I didn't study chemistry. Everyone who works here is either a teenager or a TV news reporter, and I'm happy to keep an eye out for the dangerous chemicals, but can they just put something on the label to let me know that they're potentially terroristy? Even then, if someone comes in and wants pool cleaner, how am I supposed to know if they're going to build a bomb with it or clean their pool?
Well, I'm sure something would tip you off.
Yeah.
I would like to buy 200 litres of pool cleaner.
Oh, that's a big pool. Aisle 5 next to the garden hoses.
Thank you.
Look, obviously the point of this campaign is to raise public awareness so that we can all look out for suspicious behaviour in relation to the circumstances in which chemicals are purchased, whether people are using cash or reluctant to use a credit card. People who only use cash, does that mean my gammy's a terrorist? Look, for more on how this affects consumers, we'll cross to Nick Richardson. Nick, oh, geez, are you all right? What's wrong?
Tom, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think I'm a terrorist.
You what?
Okay, I read this list of chemicals and I already had most of these things underneath my kitchen sink. I bought this Drano from Bunnings in aisle 5 next to the garden hoses, and now I think the fuzz are watching me. I've seen Homeland, Tom. I gotta get off the grid, but I don't have some rogue honey in the CIA to cover my tracks and have conflicted bipolar sex with.
All right, Nick, just calm down. Surely the authorities are on the lookout for people buying those chemicals in huge quantities, so I'm sure you're safe.
Nah, Nicky's a bargain shopper. Last week, I got a 10-for-1 deal on fertiliser. I didn't know that was code name for bomb. And it's not just chemicals. My kitchen drawers alone are filled with things that could put me on a terrorist watch list. I live by myself but have 7 butter knives. 7, Tom! The police know I don't have any friends.
Oh, mate, get a hold of yourself. If you haven't done anything wrong, you've got nothing to fear. What's that?
There was a knock at the door and I panicked.
Oh my God, who is it?
The mailman. But now he's seen all my fertiliser and he could tell the government I'm a terrorist. So now I have to kill him.
Then you'd get no mail. Next up tonight, the Ford car company has announced plans to stop local production of its cars, with up to 10,000 jobs being shed across the country. Ford's Australian factories are set to be closed by 2016, but with workers staying on until then knowing that their days are numbered, we may start seeing a little less Ford focus and a little more Ford it. Yesterday's announcement was devastating news to many, with opposition leader Tony Abbott calling it a black day for Australian manufacturing that had affected him personally, like he'd had a bit of a kick in the guts. For more on how this is affecting other Australians, let's talk with our industry correspondent, Mark Humphries. Mark, what does this mean for the Australian motor industry?
It's a kick in the guts, Tom. The guts of a nation. Nowadays, nobody buys a car, they're buying a feeling. The Kia Party, the Honda Sensible, the Porsche Wanker. Ford made cars that were just cars. Strong, reliable cars that got you from A to B, and you didn't have to be a flirty young girl to drive them. This is the end of an era, Tom, and frankly, it's a blow to Australia. I remember a simpler time when men were men and men drove Ford Falcons. A time of hot summers, cold beers and one-tell. We'd fly to Bali with Ansett and buy our Peter Andre cassettes from Brash's. The closure of Ford has effectively backed over our idyllic, uniquely Australian past. It's done donuts on the flag and sped off into the terrifying foreign imported future. Thanks to this closure, people are losing their jobs and I'm losing my childhood memories. What'll they close next? The Viennetta factory? Oh God, I hope not.
Well, moving on to how this affects the workers who'll be in 3 years' time out of the job, let's turn to Clark Richards, who's live in Geelong. Clark, Ford's employees must be devastated. What's the mood like down there?
It's heartbreaking, Tom. Over 1,000 car manufacturers soon to be out of a job which they've performed with pride and dignity for decades.
Yeah, so what will they do now?
All that they can. These are good workers. They deserve better than this. That's why I've decided to help these assembly line cats land on their feet. Come on down to Clark's used car manufacturer dealership. We've got reliable, dependable car manufacturers ready to work in your factory from 54,000 PA drive away. Or you can take the bus or walk. It's your call. At Clark's, they'll get the job done. Oh, with the dollar continuing to rise, this could be your last chance to pick up a very limited edition Aussie-made heavy-duty manufacturing worker. And unlike cars, this time the mileage actually helps. At Clark's, they'll get the job done. Just listen to that baby purr.
Yeah, I'm not going to purr.
So come on down to Clark's used car manufacturer dealership and put yourself in the smooth, safe hands of the hardest working used car manufacturers on the market. They don't make them like this anymore, and they won't again in this country. They'll get the job done if you give them one.
Finally tonight, Venezuela is running out of toilet paper. Venezuelan citizens are being forced to queue for hours as supermarket lines can often stretch down the block. And if you thought the queue for the ladies' room was bad, it is. The queue for the ladies' room is always bad. And Venezuela is sitting at 21% on the scarcity index, meaning that out of 100 basic goods, 21 of them aren't available on store shelves. Commodities like milk, sugar, cooking oil and corn flour. So if there's no milk, sugar or cooking oil, what are they wiping? And how did this happen? Well, economist Steve Hankey blames the government's economic policies, specifically state-controlled prices, which always result in shortages. But the socialist government doesn't agree and blames a media campaign that's been created to undermine the country, resulting in a nervous population. We all know how much toilet paper you go through when you're nervous. It's a lot. You go through a lot of toilet paper. And so with toilet rolls so scarce, it's only a matter of time before unscrupulous types begin illegally selling toilet rolls on the brown market. However, temporary relief is on the way because the Venezuelan government has ordered 50 million rolls to be shipped in. Which sounds like a lot, but with a population of 25 million, that's only 2 rolls per person. And since it's the government ordering it in, it'll probably be that crappy one-ply one that rips mid-wipe. Which is bad news for Venezuelan engineer Herman Rue, who complained that now he'll just have to use 4 squares instead of wrapping my hands as if in a cast. A cast? What a freak!
Well, how do you do it?
I'm just a regular 2-hand guy.
2 hands?
Yeah.
But how do you get them both like
You
under...
just stand up like everyone else stands up, right?
I make a cast. Say my cast?
I hold it in.
I'm a bidet man.
I shower it out.
I just use a towel.
No, you people are all freaks. We have our reporter Jazz Twemlow live in Venezuela. Jazz, how is this toilet paper shortage affecting the citizens?
Oh, it's a nightmare, Tom. It took me hours to get into the supermarket. All I wanted was an Al paddle pop, but everyone's queuing for toilet paper.
Is the toilet paper shortage really that much of a problem? Surely there are other options.
Well, of course you would say that, you two-handed freak. Australia is so entitled. The only struggle you have with toilet paper is whether you're a folder or a scruncher, or whether you'll just use a Labrador. Not in Venezuela, though. You listen to this.
A lack of toilet paper was one of the final indignities that led to the collapse of the Soviet bloc. Polish workers would complain of 40 years of socialism and still no toilet paper.
I'm telling you, this might just be the last straw.
The last straw for what?
Socialism.
I've already put up with so much. I've sacrificed my voting rights, I've made do with having only one news channel, and now they're taking away my toilet paper? You take away my toilet paper and you take away my loyalty to the Red Star. You failed me, socialism.
Wow, so what are you going to do?
No, I'm handing him a beret. Or maybe I could just use it to wipe my aim.
Yeah, we'll just stop you there, Jazz. Good night.